Hey guys, okay, so last time we were doing this, we did duplex conversion in Milton, and it's pretty simple. It was like a unit above, unit in the basement, pretty simple bungalow conversion, cookie cutter, right? But this time, we're actually going to look into a 3-unit conversion here in Hamilton, Ontario. So, we're going to dive right into it. So, these are our drawings here, and we're going to go over quickly, the things to consider from zoning, building, construction, things you need to keep in mind when you're doing these types of conversions, even before you make the offer. Usually during the site visit, that's where our team or even our contractor comes on site, helps you understand things to keep mindful of or things that we need to be aware of when we're doing these conversions. And we'll go through them one by one here in this video. So let's dive into it here and let's see if this works. Perfect. First things first, zoning. When you look at the property, the first thing you got to do is look into the city's zoning interactive map. For example, in Hamilton zoning interactive map, type it into Google, takes you right to the page, and you just type in the address, tells you right away what the zoning code is, or zoning label, what they call it there. From there, they'll bring you to another page to tell you what's permitted or allowed in that zone. For example, what you're looking for is like dwelling multiple or ADUs. Something like that sort of tells you can do up to 3-unit conversions in that area. Okay. In Hamilton, there's been a lot of changes in the last couple of years. Number one thing is the R1 and R1A zones have allowed up to 3-4-unit conversions, so look out for those ones. But in this case, we're going to look into a couple more specific items. We talked about labels. Now we're going to be looking at parking. Parking seemed to be the biggest struggle a lot of times with these investment projects. And the biggest issue was we can't fit enough parking to meet the number of units without going through committee of adjustments, which is like going to court. In my personal opinion, that's the way I see it. And that's always been a problem. But as of August 2022 in Hamilton, they kind of revised that whole bylaw there. And for 3-unit conversions as of today, November 4th, 2024, is that up to 3 units, you don't need to add another parking space. So whatever is currently there, they will allow you to keep. And this is how they've interpreted, and that's how they explained to me too. So here's some tidbits there. If you buy a property with an existing garage, detached or attached, whichever it is, that's technically considered to have 1 parking space on the lot. And the driveway you have there too also counts as 1 parking space. So technically, driveway and existing garage will count as 2 existing parking spaces. And for permit submissions, they'll consider that. You don't have to add like a third one to your units for the third one at all. The only time you have to add 1 more parking to that situation in these specific zones is if you're going for the 4th unit conversion. But up to 3 units, you can keep those existing parking spaces. Or the other scenario where some people don't have any sort of garage whatsoever, and they only have the driveway and it's only 1 parking space, that's fine as well. Like existing parking space to remain as is. That's the rule of thumb there. The only issues we see with those type of scenario is the fact that the property lines may not work in your favor. For example, you have the 1 single driveway, but you can't actually fit 1 parking space there. So that's where it becomes almost an interpretation where technically we can't fit it, so does it count as 1 existing parking space or does it count as 0? And it's really more of a discussion with your permit expert or discussion with the city officials there to see what's going on into that sort of issue. And then, committee of adjustments. For these types of projects, we're not really going into it, or there's no need to kind of go into these types of committee adjustments for parking when most of the cities have converted. And recently, as of September 25th this year, they've also updated a couple more things in the R1, R1A zone. So slowly and in time, the cities, not just Hamilton, have slowly kind of got rid of the parking requirement just to make sure we can do all these conversions and help the housing crisis without sort of wasting more time or spending more time, is what they call it, into these committee of adjustment meetings. So keep that in mind for your next conversion. Next, in terms of zoning, let's actually dive right into this drawing here. For example, this project we're looking at is a 3-unit conversion here, and the way we sort of divide up a lot of our 3-unit conversions is we have one in the basement, main floor, and second floor. That's as simple as you can get it. The problem majority of the time is, and we'll dive a little bit deeper throughout the video, is the basement ceiling height. That's always been the problem. In this case, we didn't have that problem. We've achieved the 611 requirement as per building code without any issues, so that's something to keep in mind of. But back to the whole zoning here. So in this case, this is where it gets tricky because some people can't really imagine how it works. So this is how I'm going to simplify it for you guys. Number 1, the front door entry will be the primary dedicated entryway for the 2nd unit above. The back door, like the back rear side door, like the patio door or like the swing door for to get to the backyard, that will be the door for just the main floor unit. And any existing side entry doors, or you have to propose a brand new one, would be just for the basement. So that's how we kind of provide 3 dedicated exits or entryways for each individual unit. If we can't do that, we have to provide at least 2 separate shared entryways for both units. For example, if we can't achieve it for a second floor, it would have to have its own like 2 shared exit ways. So most of the time we are trying to give them their own dedicated entryway, so we don't have to provide another staircase and add more cost to the project. But sometimes we've run into that issues. We ran into it maybe a few times in the last couple of years, but primarily that's what we're trying to do: dedicate exit way all the way through. Okay, but here's where it gets tricky too, and this is where it becomes almost like a type of thing, where let's say in this case, in this drawing right now, you'll see my cursor. This back side of the wall, we're actually going to go around the whole building to get back to the front side of the property, right? To exit out of the lot. The problem is the city's interpreted as if, this entire exterior wall where the main floor is, has to be fire rated. And in order to fire rate it, most of the time we have to be able to slap on like a type X 5H drywall on top of like the existing drywall inside the whole unit. So that's where it becomes a little bit more costly. I get the reasoning, it's just another layer of cost that we have to consider when we're doing these conversions. Additionally, and you'll see in the elevations I'll show you later on, we also need to fire rate the windows as well. So, fire rating windows is not easy. We have 3 options. We have the glass block, we have the wired glass, wired glass, and we have the fire shutters. All pretty expensive, all time consuming, still needs to meet the requirements of building code. So this is where it gets a little bit more costly when it comes to 3 unit conversions versus like 2 unit conversions. Remember guys, the thing was the main difference between the two is that 2 units is still considered to be a house by definition, so there's less requirements for that and pretty simple there. 3 units or more is considered to be now a building or small building by building code definition, which means that we need a lot more drawings, a lot more information, a lot more fire separation than we ever needed before for duplexes. So keep that in mind. Okay, so we took a look at the site plan here. Pretty simple stuff, not overly complicated as of right now. We're going to dive right into the building stuff here. So we're looking at the existing basement right now. This is the existing ground floor, the existing second floor, and back to the whole existing household. This is what the house looks like right now, so it's not too overly complicated. It's almost like 1.5 story plus the dormers on both sides of the building. So let's dive right into it. So when it comes to these conversions, number one thing is, we look at is, back to my whole last video, is where the plumbing is. We have to insulate the basement, we have to, dedicate the whole service room area. But for this example, we're going to dive right into it and show you how we would, design this layout for this project. So let's get right into it. So right now, right away, of course, we would have to add in the insulation everywhere. And what I mean by everywhere, you'll see as I highlighted here, all the exterior walls have to be insulated, minimum R20 insulation all around through. Okay, it gets a little bit tricky when it comes to stairs, but the city understands that, so we're able to kind of get away with like the whole, I guess it's 1x2 wood studs or wood pieces, wood blocking, and then a layer of drywall. Because if you had to add the entire new wall right here on this whole area, it just wouldn't fit in, and you would reduce your stair width. So, there are ways around it, and the city understands it because it's all existing construction. Now that we've insulated the entire basement, next stop is to kind of isolate the entire service room here. And as you'll see, this is what I'm planning to do. Isolate the furnace, hot water tank into its own dedicated room. And remember, this room has to be fire rated. Okay, now with duplexes, we're able to kind of combine the space of the furnace to the upper floor, and it becomes part of the upper units, and that was fine. Now with 3 unit conversions, they want us to either fire rate the ceiling on top of the furnace room or provide sprinkler design. So which one would you want? From my understanding, the construction side of things, the sprinkler head, just adding one, is a lot simpler. The problem is the city would want to have sprinkler designed by a professional engineer. Now, of course, that's something we can provide, or team can provide, as typical mechanical engineer can provide. The problem is it's going to add more cost to it. We're ranging between 2,000 or 3,000 just to get that sprinkler design for one sprinkler head. To us, it's not well worth it if it's going to be cheaper and easier just to do the fire separation. But then the argument is here that fire rating on top of the furnace room is not as simple as it is. There's all the wires, piping, duct work that's all there. It's not as easy, but the city understands it from their point of view in terms of the inspection phase, where they see you try as much as physically possible to kind of fire rate that to the best of your ability. It's never going to be 100% most of the time. So that's the furnace room area there. Obviously fire rated walls and then a fire rated door. Pretty simple. That's following most of the duplexes there other than the ceiling part. Next, now that we have this whole area to work with, in my last video I was talking about the whole plumbing area, and we want to line it up properly. Sometimes it doesn't work out well in some designs. It's not always going to be perfect, because I know right now you'll see the kitchen is in this corner of the building. There's no bathroom in the existing main floor, and on the second floor the bathroom, the three-piece bathroom's on the top floor. So it's not going to be as simple as kind of lining it up, because what we want to do is we want to have people kind of come down these stairways and come to an open area as much as possible. And I wouldn't want to put a bathroom right in the middle here just to kind of block off that whole open vibe there. So this is what we're planning to do. We're going to shove the bathroom in this corner of the basement. We're going to have the bedroom on this side. So here we're going to have the bedroom. Here we're going to have the bathroom. And then the kitchen is going to go right along this whole wall here, like an L-shaped kitchen. And now we have the whole space here for the living, dining, and kitchen area. So not overly complicated. We don't want to make it complicated just because construction, time was the cities. We want to make it simple as possible and have all the plumbing at least together in some point. So simple one-bedroom unit conversion here, not overly complicated. The one thing I want to bring to your attention too is the egress requirement is still part of the whole conversion process. Now in the past with duplex conversions, once you have your own dedicated stairway or shared stairway, you can have an egress window for duplexes for the second exit. That doesn't work for triplexes or more units, because again it's under small buildings. That doesn't work. You still need the egress window, but you can't consider it to be the second exit. So keep that in mind. I know a lot of investors are still making that mistake, and just letting you guys know not to make that mistake anymore. Next, we're going to go through the main floor. Okay, main floor is pretty simple here, not overly complicated, but here's what we're planning to do. Now, like I mentioned before, this whole area is going to be dedicated for the upstairs. So we're going to block it off, get rid of this closet, get rid of this part here, and this front door will be access to the second unit. This side door would be for the basement unit because they come downstairs, and then this backside door will just get into the unit itself on the main floor. Okay, so the idea here is that we're going to have the bathroom and laundry in the same area. Same thing was the one in the basement too. I forgot to bring that up. Laundry was going to be in the bathroom. Bathroom's going to be in this side. Bedroom's going to be around here. And this area. Yeah, bedroom here. And then kitchen is going to be somewhere around this side here. And then the door. Yeah, door's going to be on that side. So we're going to relocate the entire kitchen to this side, just because we already know the plumbing's already there from the basement unit conversion, and the bathroom from above is in this area as well. So it's not difficult to kind of relocate this kitchen. Now when people walk in through this area, and we're going to open up this window for a door, it becomes very open space, right? So same thing, one bedroom unit, bathroom, laundry, kitchen, living, dining rooms. Pretty simple there. And now we get to the second floor. Okay, this one is going to be the least amount of changes throughout the whole layout, just because it's already kind of cookie cutter there. But the existing bedrooms are 3 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. We're really just typically for these types of layouts, we're typically just getting rid of the two smallest bedrooms and just adding them together. So in this case, we are removing this wall between the two bedrooms on this side, and then making this a living, dining, kitchen room. Kitchen, living, and dine-in. And we'll see if we can put in the kitchen on this side. The kitchen on this side will now connect to the whole plumbing system on this side. And then, okay, so now that was this wall gone, these doors gone, when you come up the stairs, because this is where you come from the front door, it's all open space here. So kitchen, living, dining space, bathroom, laundry we'll put into this area right here where this closet was, and then you're still left with a massive bedroom size, like 169 square foot. That's incredible, especially for people who are still working from home. They can put in their desk in the corners and still feel like they have a massive amount of bedroom space. Okay, so we've talked about how to divide all the units. Pretty straightforward there. Things to keep in mind of is all the fire separation. One thing I want to bring to your attention, because this is what screws a lot of people, even myself, up sometimes, is the ceiling height requirement. Okay, now with 3-unit conversions, because it's a small building, the minimum ceiling height for these units is 6'11" now. It's no longer the 6'5" from duplex that you're familiar with. It's 6'11" from finish to finish, and 6'5" from finished floor to underside of beam work, duct work, and anything above. Okay, with the basement itself, you'll see here 7 feet inches or 7 foot high basement ceiling height. So we had more than enough space there. The main floor will always have like 8 foot high, so it's not a problem. The problem is the dormer spaces. In this case, we were fine, but just keep in mind when it comes to like a lot of these 1.5 story houses, they have really tight spaces in terms of like the edge of the wherever the angle wall meets the rooftop. And because of that situation, we've had some permits where we need to kind of reduce the room sizes or convert or had the one bedroom converted into a bachelor because we didn't meet the room area requirement, because they will not count areas underneath 6'11", right, as required floor area. So something to keep in mind of. It gets a little bit overly complicated, and I don't want to make this too technical right now. But we talked about room sizes, ceiling height, exits. Natural light is always going to be part of the building code, regardless if it's duplex or triplex. In most cases, on the ground floor and second floor level, we always have these massive existing windows anyway, so it's not really a problem. It's really just in the basement level, as always, like a duplex conversion. The fire and sound, we talked about it. It needs to be all fire rated, especially between the service room, but anywhere between the units. So keep in mind, I know some of you already know this, but when it comes to like all these gutted projects, or even let's say even finished walls, for example, it's very interpretation there, but you need to provide sound insulation between the units and any other part of the building. And in order to achieve that, you need to add in resilient channel and then the bad insulation in between the joists, studs. So majority of the time we are kind of taking down the drywall, the existing drywall, and putting in the sound insulation and the fire separation already there. So unlike the duplex where you can kind of keep some walls, in triplex or more you kind of have to get rid of or at least skin a lot of the walls to add in this fire separation and sound insulation. And in laundry service, this is where it gets tricky, but my preferred method there is actually dedicated laundry for each unit. Just keep it beside the toilet system or the bathroom areas in each unit. It's not overly complicated. It gets overly complicated if you want to add a shared laundry space, which some investors have tried in the past. And the biggest hurdle for that is that they put it into the exit route, and because the building code defines the exit route, the laundry room as being a service area, the laundry room can't open into that exit route. So 9 out of 10 times it is that situation where we found a roundabout way, and if you want to learn more, DM me for that, but it gets overly complicated. You have more fire separation, you lose a lot of space. It's never really worth it. It's always best to have in-suite laundry at the end of the day. Okay, so we went over that, and now some other considerations to keep in mind for these 3-unit conversions is the water meter size. Now you guys may be familiar with the fact that you have to Majority of the time, you have to increase your water meter for duplexes from like 5/8 or 3/8 to at least 1 inch because of all the plumbing you're adding. Now, sometimes we're able to get away with keeping the existing water meter size because we get rid of some dishwashers or we get rid of some hose bids on the front or back of the property. So, we're flexible in that. When it comes to triplexes, there's no flexibility. Believe me, we've tried. Because there's so much plumbing into this building, we almost always have to upgrade the plumbing system from like whatever it is from 5/8 or 3/8 or half inch to all the way to 1 inch. So we can't really get by. There's no really any way to get around that. I guess unless you want to add shared laundry service and some other stuff. There may be a way, but majority of the time, the way we structure it, we're only able to we're only able to upgrade the water meter there. So keep in mind. Next, the heat source. So the rule of thumb with furnace systems, because this one has a furnace system, is that we're allowed to keep the furnace system to operate for up to 4 units. So majority of the time, it's a win there. We're able to keep it. We don't have to touch it. It works out well. It becomes a little complicated when it's like a rad system there, because the rads are, they have to be part almost like a secondary source there. And majority of our investors are upgrading to like the heat pumps, but they are keeping the rads there as a secondary backup heat, just because the heat pump system, the wall-mounted heat pump system, no matter which version you buy or how upper tier it is, they always seem to break down at some temperature in the winter. So we always want to keep the rad system there just in case. The one thing to keep in mind too is that by code, you don't necessarily need to have a cooling system or an AC. So it's just something to keep in mind of, because you have the rads and you want to keep the rads, you don't necessarily need an AC. It's best just to get the better tenant profile, but it's not by code. So a tip there, honestly. And then electrical system. Now, we've never had to actually submit any electrical drawings for triplex or fourplex. I know some of the city examiners have requested that before, but based on our scope of work and what we're doing, we don't necessarily need it. So generally speaking, we don't need to provide any electrical plans for permits for these types of projects. It's only the bigger projects when it comes to like, church conversion or a massive apartment building that's gutted that we've needed electrical drawings. Nothing for this small though. And at the end of the day, ESA will always kind of review the work from the electricians, and that's what they usually do. So there's not much for us to do in terms of electrical, other than the smoke alarms, carbon monoxide, electrical panel that we have to indicate on our drawings that's somewhere in the building, right? But even dividing up that electrical panel to three panels outside, that's something the city doesn't really care about too much, right? It's more of a preference if you want to show it or not. But majority of the electrical work will be done by your licensed electrician, so that's all fine and good there. Okay, so I know we've gone over a time limit. I'd like to keep these videos short, but we're already at the 20-minute mark. Just trying to think of anything else that can help you guys understand the triplex conversion. But if you have any other questions, let me know. You can DM me there. We also have a book on our link tree on Instagram that you guys can download and get some more information from us. But all in all, this video is just to help you guys understand how triplexes work and operate here in Hamilton, Ontario, and generally in any area in Ontario. Let me know if you have any questions. Reach out to me. Cheers.